once in my life, I want to climb to the top of the mountain and debate with someone who blows my mind.
This creature is highly intelligent.
Me.
What is up, everybody? Jeremy Eisenfire here, and welcome to the channel. Alien Earth has already introduced us to quite a few new creatures that we have yet to see in the franchise, some of which are incredibly intriguing, with some being a little less so. But perhaps the most interesting creature that we have been introduced to thus far, which has also gone on to become a huge fan favorite, is none other than the T Ocellus. Not only has the creature already left its mark on the fandom, but it's also gone on to have an impact on the story itself as well. As we've seen on numerous occasions, the T Ocellus is capable of creating absolute mayhem with just a simple tap on the glass, which, if nothing else, is a clear indication of the heightened intelligence that the creature possesses. But what exactly does the T Ocellus really want, and what are its true motives? Is it simply just trying to cause chaos and destruction, or is there a certain method to its madness? And when taking a look at some of the creature's behavior, along with some very interesting foreshadowing at the beginning of the season, I think we could potentially have an answer. But first, let's start with the actual facts that we know about the T Ocellus. Thanks to the database aboard the Imagino, there are some very interesting details about the T Ocellus that we have come to learn. As it states, the creature has ocular irises and a tentacle system that can grow or retract at will. The tentacles reportedly have extraordinary strength and are built to climb into and dislodge the eyes of other living organisms, which we see when we first encounter the creature aboard the Imagino, as we see it leaping towards Nibs with its retracting tentacles. And based on the minor struggle that Nibs had pulling it off of her, gives us another indication as to how strong it could potentially be. The data also states that once replaced inside the eye socket, the T Ocellus takes over the ocular pathways to the brain, overriding the neurotransmitters throughout the body, which is essentially a form of mind control, giving the T Ocellus full autonomy over the host that it happens to be in, as we've seen on multiple different occasions on the show thus far, not only with the cat on the Imagino when we first are introduced to the creature, but also during the flashback episode as it takes over the engineer as well, before eventually settling into the sheep at Prodigy. The data also states that more study is needed to properly gauge the innate intelligence of the creature, yet the T Ocellus has shown remarkable problem-solving abilities similar to that of a human. And thanks to the experiment ran by Kirsch and Boy, we now know that it does indeed possess a high form of intelligence, as indicated by the gamma waves of the sheep after the T Ocellus takes it over. And judging by some of the feats of the T Ocellus in the series, it certainly points to the creature being just as smart as humans, potentially even more so. Which begs the question, just what exactly does the creature want? One thing we've seen about the T Ocellus up until this point is that it has had multiple different host bodies, usually never occupying the same one for too long, making me wonder if it's searching for the perfect vessel, one that is strong enough in both body and mind to sustain it indefinitely. When first encountering the T Ocellus aboard the Imagino, we notice that it is occupying the body of the cat. Yet, judging by the look of it, it almost appears as though the cat's body was not strong enough to sustain the T Ocellus, as its flesh seemed to be breaking down, which could explain why, as soon as the T Ocellus saw that there were new vessels in its vicinity, it instantly left the cat and went straight for Nibs, likely hoping for an upgraded vessel. But unfortunately for the T Ocellus, Nibs and the rest of the hybrids happen to be synthetics, making it impossible for the creature to take them over, given that they lack an ocular nerve and a brain for the T Ocellus to invade. As stated in the data, the T Ocellus can only take over the body of a living organism. During the flashback episode, we see that the T Ocellus at one point does successfully take over a human body, in the form of the ship's engineer, a body it would later use to attack the xenomorph. Yet when it has a chance to kill the acting captain, it simply renders her unconscious and leaves her alive, begging the question as to what exactly the T Ocellus wants. And earlier in that same episode, we see another indication of just how intelligent the T Ocellus really is. While inside its tank in the lab, we see it proceed to start knocking on its glass, which at the time almost looked like it was trying to warn the scientists that one of the other creatures has escaped. But thanks to the Alien Earth podcast, we have clarification from the show's creator that the T Ocellus was simply trying to distract the scientists so it wouldn't see. After which we see the T Ocellus escape by knocking its tank onto the floor, showcasing its heightened intelligence yet again. Could the T Ocellus potentially have left the captain alive yet attacked the xenomorph because it wanted the ship to get to Earth? Was it hoping that it would find the perfect host vessel on this new world? Something strong enough and intelligent enough to sustain it indefinitely? And when looking back at the beginning of the season, there are a few interesting scenes that could point to who this perfect vessel might be, with that being none other than Boyd Cavalier himself. Towards the beginning of the season, there are two very intriguing scenes that could potentially be a massive foreshadowing for Boy and the T Ocellus merging at some point in the series, starting with Boy's conversation with Dr. Dame, in which he states the one thing that he is searching for isn't more money, but rather an intellect that is equal or superior to his own, as more than anything else, he craves a debate with something that can blow his mind.
For once in my life, I want to climb to the top of the mountain and debate with someone who blows my mind.
And then, of course, we have another interesting foreshadowing scene between Boyd and the T Ocellus directly, after the T Ocellus first invades the sheep. At first, we see the T Ocellus staring at Kirsch, until Boyd starts tapping on the glass to get its attention, at which point the T Ocellus turns around and stares at him, as Boyd begins to point to himself saying me, which at the time seemed like an interesting foreshadowing for the T Ocellus taking over Boyd at some point.
Me.
Could these two highly intellectual beings be on a collision course with one another? And if so, could this potentially give Boyd the one interesting debate that he has been searching for his entire life, with an intellect that is greater than his own? If nothing else, it would be an interesting poetic justice of sorts for Boyd. After all these years, he may have finally found the one intellect that is smarter than his own, but it comes at the cost of having to give up his own body and mind to the creature. And could this be the perfect vessel that the T Ocellus has been searching for all this time? One that is intelligent enough and young and strong enough to sustain it indefinitely? And in turn, show us that the T Ocellus was actually the real puppet master the entire time. After all, who knows what the T Ocellus would actually be capable of after taking over Boyd Cavalier? Whatever happens to be the case, the T Ocellus has certainly become one of the most intriguing characters on the entire series. And while this video was just a fun tinfoil theory, I look forward to finding out what the T Ocellus is truly after, and if it is indeed searching for a perfect vessel. And while many fans are hoping to see the T Ocellus merge with a xenomorph, I'm not too sure if that is entirely possible. Not only do the xenomorphs not have visible eyes like most creatures, but their blood is acid after all, making that a potentially deadly combination for the T Ocellus, although it certainly would be an interesting sight. But that is going to do it for our T Ocellus endgame theory, and definitely leave your thoughts and comments down below. What do you think the T Ocellus is truly after? And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like on your way out and consider subscribing to stay up to date on all of our upcoming Alien content. And don't forget to come and join us every Tuesday night for our live Alien After Show discussion. And as always, I want to give a big thank you to everybody out there for watching, and a huge thank you to all the channel members, and we will see you on the next one.
Me.